Welcome to Young Innovators, or Raising Young Innovators, because today we have some really great tips for you to raise the smartest and the brightest and the best children out there. Now, today's guest is Melissa Schneider. Melissa, thank you for joining me. And I'm going to let Melissa tell you why and how she got to be the executive director of the Winter Park Public Library.
Thanks for having me, Sarah. I'm so happy to be here. I love talking about the library, and a little background on me. I actually started at the Winter Park Library when I was a very young college student. I knew I wanted to work in libraries. My grandma, who had been a librarian, said, since I was attending Rollins College at the time, why don't you walk over to the library and see if they have any jobs? So I filled out an application, and I started shelving books on nights and weekends, and eventually graduated with my bachelor's degree, went off and got my master's degree and worked at a few other libraries, and then came back 10 years ago now, and right on the cusp of Winter Park deciding on a new library for the community. So what a great time to come back.
And you have a great building.
We have a fantastic building. I can't even believe it. We've been open now for 3 years in our fabulous facility. And one of the biggest improvements in this facility is the space for children.
Oh, yes. Well, I get there all the time as I see you there, so I know all about that. But before we start talking, so you'll know what to do when you bring your children to the library, I want to just see if you'll give us a little bit of history about why libraries were ever even created and why, and then we'll talk about why they're important for children.
That's a great question. I feel libraries were created to support education and connection in our community. And in Winter Park, I especially love to tell that we're celebrating our 140th year this year.
I can't even believe it's 140 years. That's great.
It's unbelievable. And we were founded by 9 women who came to Winter Park with their husbands as part of the founding of Rollins College and really the part of the founding of Winter Park. And they decided that that community needed a library, and they had the vision to plan that. And I can't even imagine what they would think if they were here seeing what we've become now all these years later, but we're still a place for learning and connection. And from our earliest ages, seeing the babies in the library, growing up in the library, and the impact it has on their lives is one of the reasons I continue to want to do what I do. I'm so blessed.
And we're blessed in the city of Winter Park to have you there and to have this fabulous building and this library. So, libraries have always been near and dear to my heart. I have to tell one story just because it's such a dear story. I think I've told it to you before, but there were 4 of us growing up, my older sister, my brother, me, and my little sister. And one year, we were the Clark family. My dad was the local dentist in town, and my mother grew up in this town. My daddy grew up in this town. And one year, we read every book in the children's library in that library. And that tells you how small the library was, and also tells you what avid readers we were. Because I was the one who would take the flashlight and put it under the covers to keep reading after the lights were supposed to be out. So I have always loved libraries. Now tell us, because there's lots of parents watching right now, what we can do to make sure we instill in our children the love for libraries. And what do libraries offer us today?
We have so much available for families, and there's nothing better than seeing our families in the library. And your story is very similar to mine. I grew up going to the library from the time I was a baby all the way through school, and it was a happy place for my family. It was the place we would beg my mom to go to each week to get books. We would read all of the time. We would go to the events like the story times, and we made friends at the library. And so libraries are still very much that place where we have books and places for our kids to connect and play and learn, and also for our parents and our grandparents who are coming in to learn. And then we have so much more now. We have, in addition to story times that you always think about when you think about libraries, we have things like STEM classes now and coding robots and art classes. So there's technology, there's something for everyone.
Well, now, when we opened this new library, I'm acting like I had something to do with it. But anyway.
Just a little. She's being humble.
Well, we had a lot to do with it when I was a city commissioner, that's for sure. But I will tell you that when you all got to open the new library and it's become such a beautiful space for us, I understand that our usage of that library just didn't double. It didn't triple. What did it do?
It has gone above and beyond anything we could have dreamed. So if you ever were in the old library, we were so cramped on space for our kids, and it was such a central part of the work that we do and continue to do. So we not only about doubled the size of the space for our kids, but usage has skyrocketed to the point where we're now the #1 children's library in Florida.
In Florida?
In the entire state, which is tremendous. The books are flying off the shelf.
Winter Park, the little city of 30,000 people, is the #1 library.
It's incredible. We're looking at those large libraries that you think about and smaller libraries in the state, and we're seeing that our books in the kids section are getting used 4 times as often. Our classes are 3 times fuller. It's just been an incredible response.
The only time I hear anybody complain is because they can't get in.
It's true. It's true. That's the biggest complaint.
Things.
Yeah, their classes are just filling up. We do over 1,700 classes and events every year, so it comes out to 3 to 5 classes every day. And literally, when I tell people, look at the calendar and see what would appeal to your kid, there is going to be something that they would love.
Well, and I know we've talked about having something for them in the summer.
Absolutely. One thing, and again, Sarah is so humble, but she has been such a huge library supporter. And your background in education has been so incredible for us to have to talk to about the kinds of things that we need to be doing. And so, you and I chatted last summer about the summer learning slide and what happens when kids are out of school and parents are stretched and summer camp is so expensive and there's just only so much our parents can do. And so you, with your genius idea, said, what if the library did some kind of a summer camp program and offered resources and ideas for our families to learn all summer long? And so this summer, we always have a fantastic summer reading challenge where we encourage our families to read every week and come to classes and earn prizes for reading. We're also launching summer camp at home. So our families are going to be able to take home this incredible kit that was designed with your educational background. So it's incredibly well done. And there's going to be activities with water, with nature. There's going to be a craft. There's going to be books you can read. There's going to be other activities you can do. And it's something I know that my family is just going to have so much fun with.
Oh, James will like this. She has a nephew named James, and he was in my granddaughter's class. And so James and Grace will love this camp.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'm trying to prepare my grandchildren for this already because it's so funny to me, as long as I've taught and as old as I am, that I don't just at the tip of my fingers have an idea, but I have to review. I have to look back. I have to have something because I forget. I mean, I still remember finger plays and rhymes, but I don't always remember them when I need them.
Exactly.
So that's what this is going to do for me.
It is going to be so fantastic. I just previewed it with our board of trustees last week, and they're so excited. So
neat.
For our families, we have our big kickoff event for the summer on Saturday, May 31st, and we're going to have a table at the library and the summer camp books that folks can take out, and they can get a T-shirt if they sign up. And then we're going to have a page on our website, and we're going to be promoting it all summer long. And it's something that we really want other libraries to model after. So we'd love to take this to a conference and share more about it over the next year, and then revamp it for next summer and just keep it going, because I just think it's so important. The summer is a really tough time.
So libraries meet the need of the community, whatever that community is, and they meet the need of families and of children. And my children, my grandchildren now, the 2.5-year-old will get in the car and say, library, 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 which means he really wants to go up there and play.
Aww.
Now, he wants to play. He always picks up, because I have to limit my children's number of books they can take home, like 10. Because otherwise there would be too many. So I limit the number because he wants to pick up every one of them. He's at that age. So tell me what else you all are. I've known when I've been to the library, I've even seen a dog there. What was the dog doing at the library?
We do so many incredible things. We have every month therapy dogs come in, and it's in partnership with Canine Companions, and kids can read to a therapy dog. And, if you think about being a reluctant reader, if you're struggling, if you're shy, reading to another adult or to another kid, you can feel very embarrassed about your reading skills. But think about reading to a dog. This is a very non-threatening way for you to build your reading skills and feel excited about coming to the library. And so it's something that our longtime head of youth services, Shanna, who's been with the library for almost 30 years, said, we need to do something like this about 10 years ago. And again, just this new library, it's taken off. We're doing more of that because there are kids who struggle and we want to support them. And, you mentioned play, and I think that's so important in this age of technology. Technology is hugely important, but kids learn by playing. And so we have all of these great play-based learning spaces in the new library now, especially for babies to age 5. And
Yes.
that is actually part of a project we've been working towards becoming a Family Place certified library, which is a certification that only one other library in Florida has. It's a national certification. It requires your children's librarians to go through training, and it's really focused on recognizing that a parent is a child's first and best teacher, and that play-based learning is so important. And there's different things like literacy and language development and all of these different aspects that require support for parents. And
Well,
so
you have a play kitchen there.
we have all
And
these play
they
spaces.
play cook and they
Mhm.
feed me, and then there's a train over here. There's a lot of toys that are appropriate for young kids.
Dress up stations.
Oh yes,
and
oh yes,
It's
and
fabulous.
the whole thing. Well, that was brilliant to put in there. And then also you talked about technology, and this is especially for moms and dads out there. A couple summers or a couple winters ago, I wanted to do a lot of work on all these videos that I had at home, and so I had all the home movies turned into videos, and I could not have done what I did without the help of your library, of the gentleman who helped me in the area in there. He was wonderful. So there's a lot of things I didn't know what to do, and he would tell me.
I tell people, just come to the library and see what we have, and I bet you'll be surprised. You'll learn something new. You'll find something you didn't know we were doing, and that's a great example. I know my family was the same way. We had home movies, we had slides, we had old photos, and it's very expensive to get that digitized. And here at the library, with your library card, you can come in, we'll train you on how to use this equipment that we offer, and you can do all of that yourself just with your library card.
Wow. Well, you also have study rooms there, and I see people that are tutoring there.
Mhm.
So is that something people can sign up and do?
We have 8 private study rooms and 3 small conference rooms, and then just open workspace. And I think in this post-COVID world where so many people have a hybrid work environment, or maybe they're an entrepreneur and they've started a small business and they need a space, or they need tutoring. Yeah, with your library card, you can reserve space online. You can use free Wi-Fi. We have technology like a 3D printer and a digital die cut machine and a laser engraver and a recording studio. So maybe someone wants to come in and start a podcast. We can train you on how to do that. So again, something for everyone.
Wow. Well, let's get back to kids for just a minute, because the whole idea about reading to children and reading aloud to your own children is, we talked about this in a previous podcast, is I think if we could do any one thing for every child out there, it would be make sure they had a library. Dolly Parton has certainly supported that with her big efforts, and kids are getting a book every month that she sends to them. So there's all kinds of ways you can access the library. You also have an old leaf, what's it called? A new leaf bookstore?
We have a used bookstore.
Yes,
and
because I always have to spend some money before I get out for the kids.
what a great community resource. It's completely volunteer run and donation driven. So all of the proceeds support the library. And this is something that was founded around 25 years ago by a longtime Winter Parker that many folks know, Polly Seymour. And one cool thing about the used bookstore is she always wanted to make children's books available to families. So children's books will never be more than $1. And so we have great resources available. Think about classroom teachers who want to build their library, or families who may really love a book and they've borrowed it from the library and it's time to give it back. And maybe they want to buy it for their own library. Shop in the bookstore. And, to your point with with reading to kiddos, it's so important. So much happens between birth and age 5 in terms of brain development. And so our librarians who work with our families really encourage our families to read every day together. And we do something called 1,000 books before kindergarten. And from the time those babies are born to the time they're going to go to kindergarten, they can log their books and they can read the same books and get credit for that. And then every summer, we do a Step Up to Kindergarten event where kids can ride a school bus and learn about going to school for the first time. And if they've completed that program, they get a special medal and a prize and a certificate. And it's so amazing to see these kids that have been coming in since babies who are reading so well and excited to go to school. So it's just never too late to start reading.
Oh, no, and you got to start today. So I remember when there was a gentleman named Jim Terrellis who wrote the book, Read Aloud Handbook. Okay. And he came to Orange County, and it was when I was working with the school system. And I remember telling my husband, I don't ask you to go to a lot of these education things, but I want you to go to this one with me. So he went with me, and he was in awe because at the end of it, he said, you know what it did to me? It brought back memories of my mom reading books to me at night before I would go to bed. He had never thought about that. It had never entered his mind, but suddenly when he heard Jim Trelease talk about how powerful reading aloud to your children was, it made him remember. And I remember my fifth grade teacher reading Old Yeller to my class. Back when I was in school, they used to read a book every day after lunch, I think it was. And everybody in the class crying in fifth grade when they read Old Yeller. It's just so interesting how things change, but how children still love to be read to.
I love that story because I still remember my elementary school teachers reading to our class after recess. We'd lay our heads on our desks and she'd read things like The Boxcar Children and those classics. And it just got me so excited to know what was going to happen because she'd read a little every day. And then my mom would tell you that both my sister and I would beg to read out loud because we wanted to act out these stories. And so it builds confidence. You know, it's doing these things that you don't even realize in terms of development.
And how you model that.
Yes.
And that's what my husband saw and remembered and felt.
Yes.
Even more so. And that's what I wanted to just bring up one more thing that I thought was so interesting because we've been going to the library and taking our little one there. And remember the tiles in the old library? Because we still have to go upstairs and show my son who has a tile with his name on it. And we have to show that to his children because it shows them the continuity of libraries and how important it is. And how not only did I go, but he went, now they're going. And you know what? Their children will go too. We're setting in place what literacy is. I don't have to worry about how well these children will do in school. They can read well. They can read well because they've been read too well. So,
and literacy is still so fundamental. You know, at the end of the day, books are so important. Reading is so essential, especially in the age of technology and the internet. And you think about these kids that are going to experience things that I could possibly never imagine. And having the reading skills to decipher what they're learning is so important.
Any other great hints you can give these folks before we sign off? Because we know how important books are and how important it is to do this with our children. Anything else you can think of?
I just encourage our families to come to the library and talk to our staff. You know, we're here to help. We have an incredible team. And nothing makes us happier than building relationships with our families and supporting kids who love to read or who are nervous to read. You know, maybe they haven't found the right book for them. So come in and learn a little about what we're doing. Check our calendar. If you don't live in Winter Park, check your local library and see the kind of stuff that they're doing. And just come in, borrow some books, come to a class, participate in summer reading. Like I said, it's never too late to start, and it's just incredible to see the light bulb moment for kids when they come in and they find something for them.
Well, this is great. Thank you for joining us today, Melissa, and thank you for joining us today. And go and read to your children. In fact, if you like this, be sure to like and subscribe.
Thanks so much, Sarah.
Thank you, Melissa.